What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to episode number 282 of the VK Bros, broadcasting not live, but from the realm of who knows what day it is, the post-Christmas haze, where, we didn't even realize that we needed to record today because we thought it was Thursday and it's
I thought it was
Saturday.
Thursday. I genuinely thought it was Thursday.
Yeah, and all I know is I don't really know what day it is, but I know that there are events on that require my attendance over today and tomorrow. So, how are you going this week, Alex? How was your Christmas week, mate?
The Christmas week was awesome. I went on a friend's boat for 2 days out in the Gold Coast Broadwater with some boys, which was amazing.
That's always good.
I want to talk about the sense of adventure that men have. So prior to the 2 days we spent on the boat, the guy who owns the boat's family was on it before, for 2 days prior. And his adventure was very different with us than it was with them. So, for example, when we pulled up to, say, Tipler's,
Yep.
you'd usually pull the little tender out, jump on the tender and row or use a little, 1 horsepower thing to get you to the shore. But when it's the boys, you're just like, nah, we'll just swim. So you jump off the side of the boat, swim to shore, go have a feed, go have something to drink, and then just swim back to the boat, jump back in. We pulled up, I think it's called Jumping Pin.
Jumping Pin, yep.
And it was swampy and gross. And where we anchored, the water was moving so fast that if you jumped off at the head of the boat, by the time you came up, you're basically at the back of the boat.
Yep.
And but we're still like, yeah, let's swim it. We'll swim to shore. And then there was this big sandbank, and we knew that the ocean was on the other side. So we're like, well, let's go on a mission up there. Walk through this midgy swamp that I just got stung like crazy on my body. And then you come to this incline that's so steep that you have to use 4 limbs to get up it. And then when you got to the top, you had a look and you're like, oh, I'm way further away from the ocean than I thought. But you're like, well, we've committed this much, let's keep going. Get down that hill, then there's just an old seabed. It's just full of shells.
Yep.
And which I don't know how, because that means that the sea was higher back then. It makes no sense. And your feet just getting shredded because obviously you didn't bring anything but board shorts and 1 small bottle of water. Then you get through this grassy part, which is kind of relaxing, and then you go through another. It's 4 different worlds, and we finally got to the beach. I think it's the only time in my life where, as far as you look north and as far as you look south, no one else was there.
Right.
It was like something from a movie.
Yeah.
It was wild. And, then had to do the trek all the way back. But I like that it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still going to do backflips off the boat. You're still going to do, it's just that sense of adventure that men have never goes away.
It's just that whole boys will be boys thing, right?
Yeah, totally. But I'm very lightheaded today. So if I fall over, can you drive to Brisbane and sort me out? I'm on what's supposed to be a 3-day fast. I'm over halfway now. So I started 2 hours past the halfway mark. And the reason why I wanted to
Not that anyone's counting.
Yeah. The reason why I thought, I've always wanted to do one. Apparently there's some studies that come out and said it was really good for you, especially for regenerating dead cells. And but the primary reason was I've just overindulged for a week. The best thing I can do is give my body sort of a reset.
Yep.
And yesterday was actually pretty easy. The first 24 hours was pretty easy. This morning I was fine, sort of a little bit low energy, because all I can have is black coffee, water with salt in it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
But just after I had my shower, I'm a little bit lightheaded now.
Yeah. Did you have a hot shower?
Yeah.
So it could just be a blood pressure thing as well. If you're having no food, primarily like a lot of salty water, and then you get in a hot shower. That can spike your blood pressure too. So just keep that in mind as well. But yeah, fasting is great for you. I will want to do something similar, maybe in the week or so after this week, because we had obviously Christmas Day at our parents' place, which was a lovely day. Always nice to get together with the olds and their grandchildren. Then I had Boxing Day at my place yesterday with the in-laws, and now I'm going to a mate's place today to have some beers and barbecue and continue watching the cricket. Shout out to Australia and England for one of the most ridiculous day ones of the Boxing Day test I've ever seen in my lifetime. So for those of you who are cricket fans, and even those of you who aren't, the Boxing Day test is supposed to be one of like the biggest tests of the year on the calendar. It's, you know, they had 90,000 people through the gates at like 8:30 in the morning, like absolutely huge. And I don't think I remember, actually I'm pretty sure, sorry, I saw a stat on this, which I'll look up while I talk. But it is the first time in my lifetime I've ever seen a test match where both teams get bowled out on the first day.
Oh shit.
Which was insane. Random stats guy actually had something up about this. Here we go. There was the first time since 1909 that both teams have been bowled out on day one of an Ashes test. It was mental. So the pitch was doing a little bit, but I think it was, to be honest, like we're all making jokes in the group chat that everyone got hammered at Christmas the day before, because the only guy who actually was doing pretty well early on was Usman Khawaja, who's Muslim, so he doesn't drink. So yeah, but you know, shout out to the boys. I think unfortunately this test will be over either today or maybe tomorrow, which is annoying, right? So now, if you guys haven't realised, this ain't going to be a real serious show this week. This is that lull period between Christmas, New Year's. Yes, there's still lots of stuff going on in the world, but we want to sort of talk about something a bit more fun, a bit more positive, obviously on the lead in into the new year, because what date will it be when this drops? What date?
It comes out on the 29th.
29th, right, so it'll be just before New Year's. But I want to say, as a sports fan, because like I said, I'm not a massive cricket fan, but I'm a big beating England at stuff fan, and I'm a big rugby league guy. So normally cricket is my, like, it holds me over between rugby league seasons. So rugby league finishes off in October. You know, usually there's like a little bit of international stuff at the end of the year, and then there's nothing until March when the season kicks off again. So like cricket holds me over. And it's also that time of year when you spend a lot of time at home. So it's just nice to have the cricket on in the background sometimes, like you're doing other things and you see wicket and whatever. But these tests are supposed to go for 5 days. Like, I'm pretty sure the first 3 games were done in 11 days. Like, should have been 15, it's 11 days. This one looks like it'll be done in 2, maybe 2.5 days. You're cutting us short of so much entertainment, guys. Just do your job.
I know there was some talk about it after whatever that previous, the 11-day one that was supposed to go for 15, where ticket sales are like, hey, this business plan doesn't work.
Oh, it's costing Cricket Australia hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, and the broadcasters as well.
And Cricket Australia runs at a loss. Did you know that Cricket Australia gets topped up by Cricket India to pay its bills? Yeah. Unless it's changed. We checked that a couple of years ago.
I also want to talk about one of the most retarded things, which I only found out this series as well. And again, it probably won't make much of a difference to most people who don't like cricket. But I only just found out. So you know when, say, like bowler bowls, batsman might have nicked it, might not have. So a team reviews it, and it goes to the decision review system, like the video ref for rugby league. And they used to have, and like other countries use a thing called hotspot. And as the name suggests, if the ball hits the bat, it uses an infrared camera to see if there's a hot spot that gets left on the bat when the heat from the friction of the ball. They're not using it this series. And there's been all of these massively controversial calls because Snicko, which is the other bit of technology they use, which is basically a sound wave to pick up whether or not a sound has occurred as the ball has gone past the bat, that's been really inaccurate. Like there's been, I think even 2 players, one Aussie and one Englishman so far, who have both admitted after the fact that they nicked the ball, but Snicko didn't pick it up.
Interesting.
So if you had hotspot would easily have shown that, and you'd get the correct call every time. I was talking to my brother-in-law about this yesterday, and he enlightened me to the fact that the reason why they're not using hotspot over here is because for some retarded reason, is up to the broadcasters to pay for hotspot. So think about this. You have an international sport, but the sport itself, the governing body says, well, if you want hotspot, you're going to have to pay for it, TV stations.
That's what I'm telling you. They don't have the money, man.
Yeah.
They don't have the money.
But also, on the other hand, too, it's like...
It's like bring your own goals.
Well, why would the broadcasters pay for that technology? There's nothing in it for them.
No.
Like, it's the game. It's not the broadcaster's
Yeah, that's
fault.
wild.
It's so weird. And, it's been... There's been massively controversial calls all through this series, but... yeah, I just think it's so stupid because there's a lot of countries overseas, like India, for example. Any series in India, they use hotspot because they've got all the money. Like, they can afford that stuff. But
or has it showed that whoever's providing that technology is being too greedy and asking too much money? Because I have definitely can see myself in a position where I'm like, no, you're taking a piss, so I'm just not going to use it and I'll figure something else out.
Potentially, but like hotspot's been around for decades. I don't understand how that technology can be so expensive in 2025 that Cricket Australia can't afford to chip in and use it.
If they've got a patent on the idea or on the technology, and they're just every year the license fee's going up and up and up to the point where
so I'm going to start a new company. It's called Warm Section, and if there's a warm section on the bat, that means that you've hit the bat.
Yeah.
There's a market here. Capitalism for the win.
If you were to round out your year, how would you round it out? What would you say?
You know what? So looking back on the year, which when you've got young kids, it's kind of hard to really like everything. Every day just blends into each other. There's so much stuff going on all the time. But I've got to say, 2025 for me personally was probably one of the most enjoyable years since we started the podcast. And I guess part of it is, some of the, those early COVID years were horrible. They were terrible years, right? And even, taking my own personal stuff aside, like having young children that didn't sleep and all that stuff during those periods too. That stuff aside, I actually can't wait until the boys are older and we can look back at this COVID period and go, the world literally went insane. Now, the thing that I've really enjoyed about this year is I feel like we're getting closer and closer and closer to that tipping point of when things get so bad that people are actually forced to change their behaviors. I feel like that's really, really happening, and we've spoken about it a million times on the show before, but for us, our big wake-up moment was the war on terror and the weapons of mass destruction, which were BS, and that made us never want to trust the government ever again. And unfortunately, the government has just made it easier and easier and easier to distrust them ever since, because they've never corrected their behaviours. They've just kept lying, and the lying has gotten so egregious, and they're not even trying anymore, right?
Yeah.
But I think that is a good thing, because you do sometimes have to hit the bottom of the barrel before people wake up and go, I need to change what I'm doing, man. I need to change something about how I live, because this isn't going the direction that I want. So for me, 2025 has been a year of transition. And in my personal life as well, my eldest completed his first year of prep. So he went from kindy last year into prep this year, and he did great. He did really, really well. I was so impressed with him. His most recent report card, he got almost straight A's, which we were kind of surprised about. He's clever, but the problem with clever boys in particular is they can be lazy, they can be disruptive if they get bored, all that sort of stuff. But he got almost straight A's, and the thing I was most happy about is he got top marks for effort in every subject. And that's what we always talk about, is we're the marks will be what they'll be, but the effort is what actually matters. It's how much effort you put into things. What you put in is what you'll get out of life, right? So we keep trying to harp on about the effort. And so for us, as a family, it's kind of nice to look at all this stuff that you talk to your kids about when they're so young, and you don't know if it's going in or not, and then you get to the end of the year and you go, okay, he put in A-rated efforts all year. Good on him. From a personal perspective as well, I feel like next year is going to be a big transition year for us. We've got some big things planned, some big things coming. This is us as a family, not us as a podcast. I'm sure we've got bigger and better things that we're going to move on to next year as well. But the other thing too that I've really enjoyed about this year from a podcasting perspective is the amount of interaction we get from our community now. All year, we have people that reach out to us almost every day, especially on Instagram. That's the easiest way to catch me. It's because I'm a boomer. I'm not on TikTok or anything like that. But the amount of interaction we get from listeners, and there's some people who like follow the show. They don't even listen to the show, but they follow the social media stuff and they interact on that and those sorts of things. And it actually feels to me like we're starting to make a difference. You know, and it's in our own tiny little way. But like one of the things I said on the show last week, I really think that 2026 for all of us needs to be the year of honest conversations. If you look at every single major issue that our country is dealing with today, it all stems from a very long period of time of a complete lack of honesty with each other because of fear of being labelled a bigot or a climate denier or an anti-vaxxer.
Which is what you're saying before about the not necessarily the lies, but part of the corruption of government is that they've learned over time that the best way to get what you want is to make the alternative a bad thing.
Yeah,
so invest in the narrative building prior, and think about just how crazy it is to associate mass immigration with racism.
Yeah.
Right, and they did that. Think about COVID, lab leak theory, racist.
Yep.
What other examples have we had of
well, I mean, you've got like I thought one of the stories of the year for me was about how some people were connecting the dots that the Labor government did a deal earlier in the year to make it easier for Indian people to get visas to come to the country, and that when they have done polls, 85% of expat Indians who are now able to vote in Australia tend to vote for Labor, and people made those connections. And then the Labor government came out and said, you're racist if you say those things. And then you had all their lefty supporters saying, unless you're a First Nations person from Australia, you're an immigrant too, and you have no right to criticise immigration and blah, blah, blah. And then Jacinta Numpapinja-Price, who is an Indigenous First Nations Australian, came out and said, yeah, 85% of the Indians vote for Labor. It is pretty clear that Labor is making it easier to get more voters into the country. And then they called her racist too. And it's like, but it's that sort of stuff where, we often say the left ends up eating itself, because there's only so long that those mental gymnastics they require from their supporters can continue on before it just absolutely falls on its head. And we've seen so many of those flashpoints this year. You've got the same people calling you a colonizer are the ones who are advocating to bring in more and more people from overseas.
Yeah, that was so surprising to me when I was at that Australia Day march, and then there was
Australia Day or March for Australia?
March for Australia, sorry. And then there was that counter protest. So all the signs were anti-mass immigration, and then there was an Aboriginal contingent that was like against us being against mass immigration, and I'm like, but I thought you also hate colonialism. Like, isn't it more of that? And I understand they don't represent the whole community, but I do find it.
But if you were the mainstream media, you would paint the entire community with that small group of people too, right?
Yeah. One of the warnings I'd give for 2026 is I sent you that thing on Instagram talking about AI removing or up-rating and down-rating certain words.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have not tested this, so I don't know if it is true. And I also have noticed with AI users, AI will pander to whatever it is that you're asking it. So if you're asking it in a particular vein, it's really going to lean into that and
Yeah.
probably support any sort of intention that you're putting on it. So just
Yep.
be careful of that when you're using it. But apparently it is downgrading some certain words to the point where we won't use them anymore because we
Yep.
won't see them anymore. And the argument being that a lot of the words are probably important words if you want to stay sovereign, if you want to stay free,
Yep.
if you want to have a concept of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And freedom's actually a really great word to use. I've only been thinking about this recently, which is a lot of these socialist people, they're looking for dignity. They want, an equal playing field for all, which I can appreciate where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But I don't think they realise that to do that, they need a totalitarian government to enforce it.
Yeah.
And anything that needs enforcing is unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the idea, and if you say this to most Australians, like go and test this on New Year's, go and talk about personal freedom. And because every time I've done it, they'll look at you like, what do you mean?
Like it's a strange concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're part of a group. Sure, you are a part of a group, but for you to thrive as a community, each individual needs its freedom to do whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what builds your culture.
Yeah, for sure. Just on that vein, if there are any either left-leaning people who listen to the show, welcome, happy to have you here. Or if you've got any friends that are leaning towards like socialism being a great thing and all that sort of stuff, I listened to a really interesting podcast yesterday. At the moment it's the latest podcast from Trigonometry, and it's called "Why Socialism Never Works: A Warning from Venezuela," with an interview with a guy called Daniel DiMartino. And
I did listen to it.
Yeah, great show, right? And the reason why I found it so interesting is it's literally a warning for Australia, because he essentially talks about how Venezuela went from being a country that should be one of the richest countries on the planet because of their natural resources, but due to socialism, they are now broke, poor, and everyone is suffering. And it's a warning to Australia, because Australia is literally the exact same thing. We are a large landmass full of natural resources. I remember we've spoken about from Matt Barry's stats where we've got something like $27 trillion worth of natural resources for a population of 27 million. We should be one of the richest countries on the planet, but we're not. And the thing is, things aren't as bad as people think things are now, with cost of living crisis and all these different things that we're dealing with. It ain't shit. Australia's still a great place to live. It's an awesome country to live in. Life is way too easy here, which is one of the reasons why we keep falling in the trap of these luxury beliefs like we spoke about last week. You can have luxury beliefs when you've got more food than you can eat. Like when we live in a country where the biggest health crisis is obesity, not malnutrition, that shows that you're in a really safe first world nation, right?
Dude, hot water.
Yeah.
Half the world doesn't have hot water.
Clean water, electricity, like the internet, mobile phones, like all of that stuff we have here and we enjoy.
With a couple of beep boop beep beeps, you can have a kebab delivered by an immigrant.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
And so that podcast I found so interesting because it is literally a warning to people who are leaning left in a country like ours. And again, I lean left on so many things too, but as Alex talks about all the time, we have feelings, we have emotions, but we don't allow those feelings and emotions to dictate our thinking on various subjects. So you can feel a certain thing, but you can act in a rational way. And the problem with Australia at the moment is I think our society has become very over-feminized, and it is so we had a listener reach out. She sent me this clip, and it's just this frustrating clip from a Senate estimates hearing, and I don't remember all the specifics of it, but essentially it was a female politician asking questions of a female bureaucrat, and they look exactly like the way that you would expect them to look in this scenario. And it was the most toxic feminine interaction ever, because the politician asked a genuine question that the bureaucrat should have just answered. But the way the politician asked the question, the bureaucrat said was offensive. So then the bureaucrat shifted the focus of the questioning from the question that was asked to the manner in which the question was asked, and it just devolved into nonsense.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest problems in Australia right now, is too many people care more about how people feel at every second of the day over and above what is true and correct to do.
And that's what I've been saying for ages, is the feelings are subjective. It's like I said last week. Feelings are subjective. Emotions are subjective. They're not objective.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make decisions, that has to be based around the objective truth.
Yeah.
Ontological truth. What is real, right? Not what is... maybe I'll bring up the... So this... Have I brought up Ed De Bono on here?
I think you have in the past, yeah. But you can bring it up again. That's fine.
This is a great way... so there's a great book by Ed De Bono called The Six Thinking Hats. Let me try and find a quick synopsis of it. So this is great. This is designed for like organizations. If you're having a meeting, if you're wanting to have like a thinking session, but it's a great way to balance. You might have that one loud guy on the team that always gets his way because he forces it. And you might have that real quiet person that's really smart, that doesn't really get the time of day, or someone who can't articulate their ideas as strongly as others. And the idea being, let's break the forms of thinking to 6 colors or 6 hats. And I'm going a bit deeper. And basically, as you go around, everyone has to speak only in relation to the hat that's on the table. So the white hat calls for information known or needed. The facts, just the facts.
Yeah. So no mayo.
Yep. The yellow hat symbolizes brightness and optimism. Under this hat, you can explore the positives and probe for value and benefit. The black hat, risk, difficulties, problems. The risk management hat, probably the most powerful hat. A problem, however, if overused, spot difficulties where things might go wrong, why something might not work. Inherently in an action hat with the intent to point out issues or risk with intent to overcome them. Red hat signifies feelings, hunches, and intuition. When using this hat, you can express emotions and feelings and share fears, likes, dislikes, loves, and hates. Green hat focuses on creativity, the possibilities, alternatives, and new ideas. It's an opportunity to express new concepts and new perceptions. Blue hat is used to manage the thinking process. It's a control mechanism to ensure the 6 thinking hats guidelines are observed. Now, what I would say is we've moved, and I felt this over time, because it wasn't always like this. We very much moved to red hat.
Correct. As a society.
As a society, our instant, instinctive
reactions
hat is red, which is natural. But we've allowed the red hat to dictate our decision making going forward.
Yeah.
And like Jason said, it's not about what is, what's right and wrong for people. It's like how it makes them feel.
Yeah.
But where that's a massive mistake is that if you look at the facts of the matter in the white hat, you realize, oh, wait, for me to pander to your red hat feelings, I need to do something that is bad, and therefore you're going to feel bad in the future.
Yeah.
That's why this, you need to run this sort of algorithm when you're thinking about these things.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to see, like you can test it. You can, people are very comfortable telling you how they feel about a thing. And then you can ask them, well, how do you fix it? And they're like, I haven't even put any thought into that.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. And you can see how certain issues have become weaponized using that red hat thinking. And it's even like, everyone talks about how journalism is no longer objective. And journalism, like the ABC, for example, the ABC has in its charter that it is supposed to be completely unbiased and just report the facts as they stand or as we know at the time. And we all know for decades the ABC has been completely biased. and it's in its own self-interest because it generally is biased towards whoever promises them the most funding, right?
Yep.
And you can see how. So, like, let's take Bondi for example because it's the most recent thing and it's the biggest thing. Go back 2 years to when October 7 happened. The Red Hats, when October 7 happened, and then in the subsequent months afterwards, were rightfully upset at not only the original event, but also Israel's response to October 7.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Hats, everyone put their red hats on and was like, I'm emotional about this, and I don't like this, and I want to show support for the downtrodden people of Palestine. Totally understand that. But then what happened after that is we literally had 2 straight years of almost weekly pro-Palestinian protests. We had hate speech laws being brought in to take away the rights of law-abiding Australians to essentially be able to facilitate support for 2 different sides of an overseas conflict. And unfortunately, we've literally allowed people to keep their red hats on for 2 straight years, and then Bondi happened. And the problem when you wear your red hat all the time is you're completely irrational. And then it became too much about appeasing the most emotional groups in society, as opposed to taking a step back, putting the white hat on, and going, okay, what are the facts of what's going on?
Yep.
The fact is, this is an overseas conflict that's been going on for generation upon generation upon generation. It is unlikely to end anytime soon, regardless of what anyone says about it. The fact is, that conflict should not be brought into this country. The fact is, allowing weekly protests to, and again, there's a difference between a protest and what was happening. They weren't protesting, they were essentially rallies. And there was bad behaviour done at all of these protests that was left unchecked because there was too much fear from the political class of upsetting certain groups who all had their red hats on. But the thing is, if you would have gone right back to the beginning of it and gone, hey, I understand October 7 was horrible. It was horrendous, never should have happened. I also understand the response to it from Israel was horrible and it never should have happened. But we live in a beautiful country and we're not bringing that conflict here. That should have happened right at the beginning. But it didn't. And unfortunately, I believe Bondi was an inevitable outcome based on dishonesty with each other about the actual issue itself and how we should proceed forward as a country. And it's like that with everything. Like, I use Bondi as the most recent example, but COVID was exactly the same. COVID, you got to remember too, let's say that you are of the camp that actually thinks that COVID is a horrifying disease that will kill everyone that gets it. It was the government that allowed the Ruby Princess to dock right at the beginning of the pandemic in Australia. So we had COVID cases quarantined on a boat off the coast of Australia. There was no COVID in the country at the time. It was the government that allowed that boat to dock, which apparently began the pandemic. Then the second wave came from Melbourne when it was the Victorian government under Dan Andrews that decided to hold international sporting events at the start of the year and invite people from all over the world, because if we didn't do it, we might lose those sporting events. So again, if you put your white hat on, what are the facts? I just outlined them. If you were really scared of COVID, the government failed you. That's the facts.
Yeah.
But then, to cover up their tracks, what they did was they made you all put your red hats on because they used psychological manipulation on you through the media, through social media, through censorship.
Save grandma.
Yeah. They literally mailed out red hats to the entire population. And
on the daily basis. They talk death counts every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
And they only stopped talking about death counts every day when the vaccinated versus unvaccinated numbers started going in the wrong direction. And then they stopped talking about it. But again, this could have all stopped way sooner. Like we were saying it during the pandemic. All this BS stops when enough people start saying no. And the people just had to say no. They had to put their white hats on, go, what are the facts of the matter? The facts were, COVID even based on the dodgy numbers that we were given early on in the pandemic, had like a 0.002% death rate. That was the fact. We should have acted accordingly, but we didn't. So the lesson in all of this is, when the next ultra emotionally charged issue comes up, you need to understand those 6 different thinking hats, and you should probably sit down with your family and go through the exercise of analyzing these issues through the different lenses of the hats. Because it's a good thing to do to get an overall picture of an issue.
Well, a great one that probably, well, in my example of asking someone what the solution is, no one thinks green hat.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell. It was like the example, I think I said it last week, where I kept saying to the young guys, don't forget, diversity is our strength, right? And they said, yeah. And I said, how?
Yeah.
And he couldn't explain it. And I said, do you truly believe that? He's like, yeah. Like, why? And he had no response. I'm like, is that because you've just been told it a bunch of times and you believe it? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So what Green Hat focuses on creativity, the possibilities, alternatives, new ideas. It's an opportunity to express new concepts and new perceptions. I do this one a lot, and trying to be like, because I'm more of a libertarian moving into anarchist, right?
Yep.
But one of the interesting things I find is when I bring new ideas to the table, they're only new to them. They're not even new to, they might be new to me, but only because I've got them from somewhere else. I've not created a new political system. I've not created a new financial system.
Yep.
I've looked at, okay, what are the facts? What are countries doing successfully in this regard? And then I'm applying that here. And when they give you that blank, well, that won't work. Well, hold on. Yeah. Like, ask questions first. You haven't even thought about it yet. You've just resisted to it because it's not what you do right here. And yet, by the same notion, some of your favorite content creators are talking about, the gas taxes and Norway. Norway and those Scandinavian countries are the best example of people's socialist views, even though they're not socialist countries, but they just have large social programs.
Yep.
So you're using that methodology of thinking in that regard, but you're not using it in others.
Yeah,
why is that?
It's the same when you talk about the gun debate. Everyone brings up gun deaths in America, and they don't talk about how there's no gun deaths in Switzerland, even though they've got a very heavily armed population. So,
or even the fact that our rules here we've got more guns in circulation now in Australia than we did in 1996.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not a gun issue, because otherwise we would have, the same amount of gun violence that we had before.
Correct.
Now, going back to the talking about Bondi, and like we said last week, we knew the government wasn't going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So even though the whole world's yelling, the whole country's yelling essentially the same thing, the government's going to go and take away your speech. Did you see that clip from that Matt, the farmer Matt? I think he's based in WA. So the WA gun laws are coming through.
Right. And
one of the new rules in that is that you don't have the right for a trial to keep your guns.
Really?
Yeah. So essentially, if you sign up for a gun license, you now no longer have the ability to go to trial for any gun-related.
So what you're telling me, Alex, is that the government is now creating a black market for weapons in Australia.
Yeah.
Because the current law-abiding gun owners who are farmers, like us city slickers, we don't realise that there are actual real reasons to have guns in Australia, i.e. pest control for farmers. So if you have livestock, for example, and there are feral dogs or cats or foxes in your area that destroy your livestock, you use those guns to protect your livestock and therefore the food that we all eat. Like, there are actual real reasons to have guns in this country. And I can't remember if we made the comment last week. We probably did. But literally out of this, the terrorists, they won. The terrorists won. We had a terrorist attack, and the government's response to the terrorist attack was further disarm the population to make us easier to attack in future, and also remove your ability to speak about the government's response to it online. and therefore
Well,
enact any sort of change.
But the craziest thing about why has no media outlet? How come this part hasn't taken hold? What would the stopping of speech done to stop Bondi? What did they say? There's nothing.
Nothing.
So, but like, how is anyone accepting that as a justification for these rules?
At the same time, the one thing that you could say is, we've all seen the videos now of those radical Islamist preachers in Western Sydney who've been spouting off this sort of stuff for years. That's all covered under existing legislation. So inciting people to violence was already illegal before this. And that was happening, and that wasn't being enforced. So, I saw someone make the point, if the government is already not enforcing the existing laws, why should we allow them to write new laws that they're going to selectively enforce anyway?
Yeah.
So, but this gets back
What about that interesting one? That guy went to go rent a book from the library.
Yeah.
And he couldn't because his dad, that lives at the same address, has outstanding books. So apparently the library's got more robust rules in place than what our immigration service has. And this gun licensing. This is in regards to the dad being able to have guns, the son and the dad being able to go to an ISIS hotspot for training for a month, come back in. Right.
So again, there are already laws against everything that those people did. The people who are charged with enforcing those laws failed, and now the response to it has been no accountability from the enforcement agencies, but further removal of the rights of the everyday citizen.
Friendly Geordies was interesting because obviously he is an absolute sock puppet for Labor. Yeah. He never said a bad word about Labor, and had to go into full defence mode. And the defence mode was like, look over here. That's literally what it was. But he's very anti-police because of his own personal experience of having his house firebombed, and then and his producer being arrested by literally the weaponization of governments using law enforcement, right,
to stifle dissent.
Yeah, so it was so interesting seeing him try to navigate through that.
And that, you know what, how old would he be now? 30?
Early 30s,
maybe early 30s. It really makes me wonder if at one point in time we'll see a John Campbell-esque change in his thinking over time. So John Campbell, for those of you who've forgotten, John Campbell is a very famous YouTuber from the UK. He is a former nurse trainer, has been around the medical industry for decades, and at the beginning of the pandemic, and particularly the vaccine rollout, he was my hate watch, because I was trying to my red flags were blazing right at the beginning of, we've gone from brand new novel virus we've never seen before. 12 months later, we've got a brand new novel vaccine technology that's never been approved before, but it's safe and effective. So all my red flags are pinging off the rev limiter. But because I believe in trying to find the truth, I was exposing myself to content that was in support of the vaccine rollout and the technology, and John Campbell was where I used to get a lot of that information, because he would put up a video every single day, and he would use government sources, government statistics, medical literature, and he'd go through all of it. And over time, I watched him every single day, even though I disagreed with what he had to say. So I hope that there's some of you listening to this show that disagree with everything we have to say, but are still here listening, because I appreciate having you guys around. But over time, because he was looking at the data, he could no longer argue with the other side of the coin, because the data proved that everything that the government was saying about it was false. And now he's not even just talking about medical stuff anymore. He's talking about concepts like freedom and, government tyranny.
Let me read you his latest video was a day ago. It's at 132,000 views. It's called Ivermectin and Iodine. 2 days ago, long-term vaccine harms.
Yeah.
Profiteering from doom.
Mm-hmm. So he's made the full transition, right? Because he saw the light. Because he's a rational person who was in a system that he trusted for his entire life. And even at an advanced age, he'd be in his mid to late 60s, probably, maybe early 70s.
Yep.
in an advanced age, he was still able to have his mind changed by looking at the data. And I wonder
I'd
if
say
a
this to
friendly
anyone.
Geordies might do the same thing over time too.
Yeah, but I think in Friendly Geordie's case in particular, I reckon there must be some funding
There has to be.
going on there.
Yeah.
Because
He's too smart to take the positions he takes on a lot of these subjects.
Yeah. But I say this to anyone. This is the sort of like the best red pill argument is everyone's a blue pillar until you start investigating it.
Yeah.
Until you look, you can be a blue pillar. Just don't look, and you'll blue pill, and you'll feel whatever you've been told to feel.
Yep.
You'll think whatever you've been told to think.
Correct.
As soon as you peel a layer back and have a look, you'll become a red pillar.
Yeah. The question is for people out there who are blue pillars, do you what's more important to you in life? Do you want to go through your entire life with every action you take being dictated for you, every thought you have being implanted in your mind, every interaction that you have in society being fake because you have to play along just to get along? Like, is that how you want to live your life? Because it's not how I want to live my life. And like, one of the things that I get criticized about sometimes, probably a little bit less now that I'm out of the workforce, well, not out of the workforce, but working self-employed, is I've often been accused in the past of just being argumentative for the sake of being argumentative. But the thing that the people who accuse me of being argumentative for the sake of it, the things they don't ever notice is that the vast majority of conversations you have, I'm not argumentative. Because you haven't said anything which is just downright incorrect or wrong or easily disprovable. You only notice it when I argue with you because you don't like it and you're not used to it. Because most people in society just go along to get along. And they let people have these luxury beliefs, or they let people think things which are false. And we talk about this all the time, about we're this beautiful generation that grew up pre-internet and grew up with the internet. And there was a time when you would have an argument at a barbecue about something random, you would all have to leave without knowing the answer.
Yeah. I remember one of these arguments.
The fish is meat argument.
Fish meat.
Do you want to explain the argument?
Not particularly.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, we remember, and a few people listening to the show will remember the fish is meat argument. But we literally grew up in a time where you would have to have these arguments, and you would literally have to go, well, let's agree to disagree, because there's no way of checking the work. Now, then the internet came out, and great, we can go to this amazing tool on our phones, and we can find the answers to all of these things. But now that's been so corrupted that you can't even go to the internet to find the answer, because the two people who are arguing with each other can go to the internet and find the answer that they want, and then put it in front of each other, and it's like, well, we're now back at step one. So literally, we talked about this concept a lot, especially with AI. We've entered the post-truth world, and staying tethered to reality is the most important thing that you can possibly do for you, your families, and particularly your children.
That's my message for 2026. Touch grass, stay connected, tethered to reality.
Yeah, and allow yourself to think critically about these different subjects. Ask those questions. Who benefits from me believing this thing that I'm being told? Dig that little bit deeper, because we were talking about this at Christmas. I'm convinced that the whole reason why AI is getting the investment it's getting, it's because none of these AI companies are making any money. They're all burning trillions of dollars. And yes, there is this massive stock market bubble which is fueling into it, because there's a lot of investors that are piling into the space because they think it's going to be the next big frontier. But then when you actually break down the nuts and bolts of it, none of these companies are actually making money. And as we covered on the show a few weeks ago, their business models just don't stack up. Their future projections of what needs to happen for them to even just stay afloat just do not stack up. But I think that the reason why they will continue on is because these companies are going to be funded by governments all around the world. Because the last thing that we had as a citizenry, which we could still rely on for truth, was video. Video was the final frontier. You know, perfect example, during COVID in the UK, when it was I can't remember his name, but the UK health minister who was imposing lockdowns, and he got caught on security camera fondling his mistress, right? That was like, we could see the evidence of the hypocrisy in real time because there was security camera video that caught him out doing the wrong thing. And all of us went, he's full of shit. Well, now, with AI, and the AI is getting so good, the development, think about the difference in AI videos from the beginning of 2025 to now.
I did it at Christmas. I was showing Dad, and we're just sitting at the table. I
Yep.
took a photo of my car parked in the driveway, and I asked Gemini to turn it into a Ferrari. In 10 seconds, it was it was ridiculous how good it was.
Yeah.
I was shocked, and I've played with that stuff all the time. It's getting exponentially better every day.
Which means two things. Number one, you cannot believe anything that you watch anymore. And
Yeah.
number two, it's also the perfect get out clause for a rich or elite or a government person who gets caught on camera doing the wrong thing to go, that wasn't me, that was AI.
Yeah.
Right? So now, more than any other, because I don't know, okay, I'm glad you brought up the green hat specifically before, because I was going to make the point, you are one of those people who I think has always been, your natural reaction to things is to put your green hat on. And it always has been throughout your life. And to me, that's a bit of a like foreign feeling. I can be creative, but that's not my normal go-to. My normal go-to is black hat thinking. I'm very good at poking holes in things.
Yeah.
I'm very good. If you show me a system, I'll show you all the faults in it. But I'm not as good at putting the green hat on and going, here's all the faults and this is how we fix them. So I think that's one of the things that you and I complement each other with really well is I do a lot of the inside the box thinking and you do a lot of the outside of the box thinking.
Can I explain the outside the box methodology I use?
Go for it.
Identify what the objective is first.
Right.
So what a lot of people, when they see a system, they see the system in how it's currently formed now.
Yep.
And they try to, even if they're trying to change it, they're just trying to change it from the view of maybe the client or whatever. Hold on, I'm about to sneeze. What I do is the first question I ask is, what is the ultimate objective of this?
Yeah.
So in this interaction, what are we trying to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
And then I decide and I say, okay, the ultimate objective is X.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just map a track back from X to where we are right now.
Yeah.
What's the quickest way to do that? So I actually disregard the box.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, which again, that's a foreign way of thinking for a lot of people. So that's my big lesson from 2025 and going into 2026. My big message to people out there is, we now live in a post-truth world. It has never been more important to stay tethered to reality and critically think through the decisions that you make and the conversations that you have. And like, from the most simple example of like the whole red hat thinking type thing, you see this all the time playing out with families who have kids. So I've talked about on the show all the time. I've seen my wife do some red hat thinking when it comes to the kids and disciplining the kids, which leads me to believe that she's got that innate empathy, which it matters more to her how the kids feel at the time rather than what the inevitable downstream result is. Now, me as the dad, it's my job to think more about what's the inevitable downstream result of a behavior and take action on that. So I am harsher with my discipline of the kids than what she is. I'm not saying that she's wrong with everything. I'm just saying this is an observation I have made, and this is the way that I take action to prevent inevitable downstream consequences. She's also way better at the empathy stuff than I am. So when the kids are really upset, she's the safe space, and she's very, very good at that sort of stuff. So men and women, we complement each other, right? But again, going into 2026, you need to think like Alex. So if you're setting goals, for example, or if you're doing New Year's resolutions, or whatever the case may be, start with the result that you want first, and work your way back from that result. What are the steps that I need to take to be able to get to that result that I'm targeting? And one of those steps you might need to take is, I think I need to do heaps and heaps of research on this subject because I've realized that I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say, that my lessons, or my what I'm bringing into 2026 is figure out a way to tether to reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm calling it touch grass. Touch grass is like, get away from the device, go outside, get some sun, talk to some people, talk about those difficult to have conversations,
Yeah.
like have more of them. But we need to find out a way to seek validity
Yep.
in what it is that we are consuming. So it might mean that we need to compare AI versus to other AIs. It might mean that we need to pick up old encyclopedias. Like I was thinking about that. Like, I wonder if Britannica is going to come back, not in a new form, but if we're going to be able to tether some of the information we've been told online to real texts.
Yeah, well,
right?
Look at what happened with the terminology of vaccine during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like we talked
Hey,
about
can
on
we
the show.
pause?
Yeah, we can pause. We'll come back. All right, and we're back.
So it was the tether to reality,
Mm-hmm.
but also you need to discover a better, more robust, more efficient, more grounded way of finding out what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
And that's on all of us. We all need to figure this out. I agree with Jason. We are moving into the post-truth world. I've got the Edgar Allan quote, believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. Well, we're about to move into believe nothing that you hear and none of what you see. But I would also say this, though. This AI thing will be amazing. Once we navigate through this. So everyone's like, it's going to cost all these jobs. There's going to be other jobs, man. AI will create more jobs than it will take.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not worried about, no one's going to have a sense of purpose. Look, arguably today, most people don't have a sense of purpose.
Yeah, agreed.
As it is. So if anything, there will be a reset or a refresh into a new industry, which might excite some people, might hurt some people, but en masse, as with every other technology, significant technology that the world has ever had, this will be a good thing.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, for 2026, touch grass. My big message is, in a post-truth world, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act, and we need to normalize having honest, emotion-free conversations with our friends and family and our communities about these subjects, because, as the old adages go, like a society which profiteers from war will create more war. A pharmaceutical industry which profiteers from disease will create more disease. A government that uses lies and censorship and subterfuge to crowd control its populations will create more of that. And the best way to insulate ourselves from those things is by starting with what you can control, which is how you act, how you think, controlling how you feel, and normalizing honest conversations with your network.
Yeah, maybe like let's make 2026. Let's anchor to reality. Like, let's just bring everyone back to reality.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us all of 2025. We really, really appreciate you. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I'll hope you have a happy, safe New Year's celebrations. And we'll see you all in 2026.
See ya. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.